into what I feel like is the most fun part of this entire unit so far, because I feel like finally we have some clarity on where we're going. So I know that as writers, you guys have done informational writing before. Give me 3 examples of information writing that you've done either this year or even in elementary school or last year. What have we done to do informational writing? Give me one, Lane.
When we write like whatever we want.
Okay, so sometimes when you have the chance to do some free writing, you do more informational writing. Okay, so give me, like, do you have a topic or an example of a paper that you've written?
Like when you had us write the informational writing.
Oh,
with,
yeah.
With the time limit.
Okay, so the on-demand writing on information?
So, yeah, the exact same thing.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. So in elementary school though, I know that for those of you who went to Ravenwood, that in 4th grade, you guys had that great big state presentation, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, so some of you were thinking about that, and for those of you who weren't at Ravenwood, maybe you had to do some sort of a state presentation as well. I think there was even one on like the bug unit in 3rd grade where you had to do some research. Okay. So you're thinking about those ideas now, right? Like we have lots of different forms of informational writing that we can do. So let's go ahead, go to that next slide, please. And then Evelyn, if you want to look at that. Some common types of writing that we do, it's not always going to just be a paragraph writing. Sometimes we're looking at problems and solutions. Sometimes we're looking at a timeline and showing that chronology there. Sometimes it's just going to be those the list and the boxes and the bullets. Like when I make my grocery list, that's informational writing. Sometimes you're classifying, like with that bug unit, you were classifying different types of bugs. Sometimes it's going to be that glossary. Sometimes it's just going to be the trail of research, and sometimes it's a combination of all of those. Okay, swivel back. All right, so the thing that we're going to be working on though is I want to take a look at our mentor text that we read when we were looking at the stolen party. Because now what we're going to do, and actually, pause, we're not looking at the stolen party yet. What we're going to talk about though is the table of contents that we can find when we start putting our research together. I know that you can't see my book, but Max is going to put it on the next screen. And Evelyn, why don't you go ahead and turn and look at that. When we're looking at those chapters that are listed there, I want you to turn and talk to your partners about what are some of the themes that you're seeing there, or why do you think that the author chose to have these chapters the way that they are? Go ahead and turn and talk about these chapters, look for some connections with your partner. Go. Pause it. So what are some of those connections, and why do you think the author chose to put the chapters in this format? Lydia.
I think they chose to do that because maybe those chapters were big parts in the story.
Yeah, just some big topics, some big themes. Absolutely. What else?
I think it's like the stages of what they went through and like what order happened.
Oh, so some of those big topics and maybe more in that chronological order of events. Yeah. Other ideas? Lane.
Hannah said it looked like a slogan.
Like a slogan? Okay. Yeah, like there's that big topic, and then, hey, guess what? It actually relates to the book. So these are things that relate to you and how it relates to the book. I kind of like that. Yeah, great idea. Other thoughts? All right, now let's talk about the stolen party. If we were to think about what are some of the most important things that we want to discuss, excuse me, with the stolen party, what do you think would be most significant? What chapters should we have for this mentor text? Go ahead and pause it. All right, so as I was going through my writer's notebook last night, I came up with some ideas of things that I think would be good chapters, but I want to hear from some of you what your thoughts are on the chapters that we should be using for the Stolen Party companion novel. So what are some issues or some topics that would be good to explore? Go for it, Lydia, give me one.
One would be like when Hermione and Rosaria are having a fight.
Okay, definitely. We need to look at that relationship, right? Rosaria and her mother. That was one that I had too. Okay. Other thoughts?
Rosaria was getting paid.
Ooh, you're even jumping right to the very end, right? Like that scene is huge. At that end where she is getting paid those $2 changed everything in the story, right? All of a sudden, we went from being really happy for her to having that sinking feeling. That's significant, that's important. What else?
Like some bits in when she's in the party.
Okay, what about in the party?
Like when the magician is doing his
Yeah, Rosaria and the magician. Absolutely. What else? Are there any other relationships that we should explore?
when she was going inside the house someone was flirting with her if they were friends.
Oh, so the entire Inez family, right? Not just Senora Inez, not just Lucinia, but also like the cousin. So I have Rosaria and the Inez family, okay? The way that they're viewing her. Was there anything else? Like, was there a space in the story, a setting within the setting that really made a difference to Rosaria? Was there a setting that was important to discuss?
The kitchen.
Absolutely. So the significance of the kitchen. And then I think that we might want to even explore one of those big universal topics that's there, one of those themes, right? If we were to look at how the social classes during this time period were impacting them. So I don't know necessarily the order that I want to put these in, but as we're thinking about the different things that you've already been writing for your own companion novel, some things that we might want to consider. Max, go ahead and go to the next slide. So you're going to be planning your own table of contents. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to, first of all, look over the entries that you've already done. What are some things that are most important that you might want to include to have their own chapter? Kind of like we did with Rosaria. And then look for, is there a logic for those chapters? Are you going to start at the very beginning of the book? Or are you going to go from the least important topics to the more important topics? And then you might even need to ask yourself, what chapters would need to be written to get the most parts of the book? Okay? So, as we're thinking about this, you can keep it there. As we're thinking about this, I want to give you one other example of a companion novel that's been done, because I don't want for you to freak out too much as you hear that you guys are going to be writing a companion novel. Okay? So there is an example that I received last night, and this one is written by Avi. So you can see that this was their first page right here. So they have the picture of the book, and then they have their table of contents. And in this story, or in this book, there are only 5 chapters. So we have the theme, the story elements, the real world, the relationships, and behind the book. As we're looking at this, there's also an introduction. It's 1 paragraph in length. So each chapter for you does not have to be pages upon pages. Okay? So keep that in mind. Chapter 1 is all about the theme. The theme took up 1 page. That was it. And then they added in the visuals from their notebook that they had already been doing and they had worked on. Okay? Then they went into the story elements. Again, it's 1 page in length, and then they added in some of the visuals that they had been doing. So it's the same common theme throughout the entire thing, where they're adding in the things, the pictures from their notebook, but then doing the expanded form of their thinking, where they were doing the writing. So I want for you to think about that as you go back to your desk. Your main goal today is going to be to work on your table of contents. Don't leave yet. before you leave, I want for you in your notebooks to write down what your goal is to accomplish today. Okay, so write